This is the brand new Pixel 9 Pro XL, and this is the Galaxy S24 Ultra. Both are the very best that Samsung and Google can produce, and arguably two of the best Android phones about. Let's just start by saying that this is going to be a bit of personal preference depending on what side of the Pixel Samsung fence that you sit on, but let's go through what makes both of these phones great so you can figure out yourself what is the best, the Galaxy S24 Ultra or the Google Pixel 9 Pro XL. This video is brought to you by SHOWDOWN, and we'll talk about them a little later on. Let's start off with one of the main factors of any device, and that's the price. The S24 Ultra and the Google Pixel 9 Pro XL are now the most expensive non-folding phones from both Samsung and Google. But the S24 Ultra starts at almost $1,300, which is still a mammoth price for a phone, whereas the Pixel 9 Pro XL is a fair bit cheaper, starting at just $1,099. And while they both get 7 years of updates, the S24 Ultra gives you a little bit more for your money, and you'd expect that with the price difference. You get the S Pen included, and it also gives you 256 gigs of base storage, while the Pixel 9 Pro XL gives you 128 gigs of base storage, although you could just upgrade that to the 256 gig version and still be $100 less than the S24 Ultra. Where the Pixel 9 Pro does come out on top though, looking at the specs, is its RAM, and this gives you 16 gigs of RAM in the Pixel 9 Pro XL, whereas the S24 Ultra gives you just 12. While this sounds like the Pixel might be much quicker given that extra RAM, we've done some tests and we found that about 3 gigs of this are held back for Gemini and general AI tasks, which means you only get around about 12 or 13 for your day-to-day running of the phone, which essentially brings this in line with the S24 Ultra. The biggest debate here though is going to be what is better, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 with the S24 Ultra or the Tensor G4. Overall, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is going to get you better performance in benchmarks, and that translates to some apps and gaming as well. It nudges ahead on single core results thanks to a slightly faster, big CPU core with higher clock speeds at 3.3 GHz versus 3.1 GHz for Tensor. The gap isn't huge, and to be honest with you, you're not really going to notice a difference between the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 and the Tensor G4 in your everyday tasks. Where the difference is quite big though is in its multi-core. The S24 Ultra has 5 middle-sized CPU cores versus just 3 in the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and these are also clocked higher as well on the Ultra, up to 3.2 GHz, while the Pixel is only 2.6 GHz, which means if you need to do heavy multitasking or need a little bit more power for gaming or rendering, then this is where you're going to notice the difference. Exporting this 27-second 4K clip inside of CapCut, you can see the difference straight away. The S24 Ultra finishes quicker than the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and it's not even close. When it comes to gaming, we know that the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is an absolute powerhouse here, and the Tensor G4 is just a little behind the curve. It'll still play the latest games well enough, and it still has a solid sustained performance, but the Galaxy S24 Ultra is going to lock in much higher frame rates if that's important to you. Let's focus on the design of both of these phones because they're quite different from each other. The S24 Ultra, first off, has that 4-camera design it's had for quite a few years. It's minimal, it's sleek, and I really like it. But that new camera visor on the Pixel 9 Pro XL is much more bold and it stands out. And for me, it just looks better overall. The Pixel has that new boxy, rounded design, whereas the Galaxy, it is still boxy, but it has these sharp, pointy corners, which in my opinion just makes it a little less comfortable than the Pixel 9 Pro XL. Those side rails on the Ultra are made out of titanium and have that matte finish, which I really like, whereas on the Pixel, it's aluminium and it's all a little bit glossy. And the S24 Ultra is also heavier than the Pixel 9 Pro XL. It might only be by 10 grams, but you can really feel this. Now, let's talk about today's sponsor, SHOWDOWN, and their SHOWDOWN 15 SE power bank. If you ever need to charge your devices on the go, then this might just be for you, because this is a 20,000 milliamp hour power bank that can charge things like a Nintendo Switch 2.5 times and an S24 Ultra almost 3 times, getting to 68% in just 30 minutes. It has 3 USB ports, 2 of them being Type-C, and one of those can deliver up to 65 watts of power. And most importantly, this is airline safe, so you'll have no problems there taking this on a plane. If that Chuck Tech power bank sounds like a little bit of you, check the description below for a link where you can pick one up yourself. We have to talk about the displays on both of these phones because no matter what phone you pick up, I don't think you're going to be complaining about the display. They both are 6.8 inches with Google's Super Actua display and Samsung's Dynamic AMOLED. Both have HDR10+, 120Hz LTPO, and thankfully they are both flat as well, so there's no curves here. If peak brightness is important to you, then the brightness on the Pixel can reach up to 3000 nits and it's 2600 on the S24 Ultra. But this isn't going to make a huge difference, but if you like bigger numbers for less of a price, then maybe the Pixel's for you here. There is a part of the display that absolutely stands out though on the S24 Ultra compared to the Pixel, and that's that anti-reflective coating. I love this. It might not seem like a big deal, but when you have light directly on the screen, it just is. It's so much easier to see the Ultra display than the Pixel 9 Pro XL. The S24 Ultra takes a step up as well in what's covering that display. So it has Corning Gorilla Glass armor, which has been so good against scratches in the time that I've had it. And the Pixel has the same Gorilla Glass Victus 2, which it had on the 8 Pro. And while we haven't had too much time to test this with the Pixel 9 XL just yet, the Pixel 8 Pro in comparison didn't do that well against micro scratches. Mine was full of them. A new addition to the Google Pixel 9s this year though is that now it has an ultrasonic fingerprint reader, which means at night time you're not going to get blasted in the face with a big bolt of light when you want to unlock your phone. And it brings it in line with the S24 Ultra because they are both using the exact same under-display fingerprint reader. There is a part of these phones that has some pretty fierce competition, and it is the cameras. The Ultra has a 200 megapixel sensor compared to the 50 megapixels on the Pixel, and again a 50 megapixel telephoto on the Ultra compared to the 48 megapixel on the Google Pixel. But then the Google Pixel comes back with a 48 megapixel ultra wide compared to the Ultra's 12 megapixel and a 42 megapixel selfie camera compared to the 12 megapixels that you'd get on the S24 Ultra. So they kind of trade blows fairly well here. Even though the S24 Ultra has that 200 megapixel sensor, it brings it down to 12 megapixels, making the main camera pretty even and even more down to preference when you have a look at these. The S24 Ultra also gives you optical zoom at 3 and 5 times, where on the Pixel you only get it at 5 times. Although Google said that at 2 times this is still optical quality on the Pixel. I've taken quite a few photos with both the Galaxy S24 Ultra and the Pixel 9 Pro XL over the past couple of days, ranging from that 0.5 times ultra wide to the 5 times lens. It always comes down to preference when you have a look at cameras on phones, but I've always preferred the processing on the Google Pixel and just the final output that it gives. I feel like on the Pixel you get less color shifting between lenses than you do on the S24 Ultra, and the colors are just a little bit more natural to what I'm seeing in real life. For me, they're a little bit oversaturated on the S24 Ultra. Let's compare video of both of these devices side by side as well, and I prefer the stabilization on the S24 Ultra than I do on the Pixel. It just seems a little bit more gimbal-like and gets rid of those small little micro movements, and when you pan the camera, it just seems so much smoother than the Google Pixel. Having said that though, I actually then prefer the final video on the Pixel 9 Pro XL, so it really is quite difficult to pick. Both phones also do 8K video recording, in a way, so the S24 Ultra has native 8K recording. You can just switch to that in the settings. But if you want to record 8K on the Pixel, you can't. You have to record 4K, send it off to the cloud for some processing, and then it will come back at 8K. I should mention, if you want to zoom in and out of the lenses smoothly when you're taking video, then none of these phones are going to be a winner for that. They're both pretty terrible. Every single phone that comes out at this point, AI is a really big marketing factor behind the phone. And if AI is something that you're really into and is going to help you decide between the two phones, then actually this is going to be quite difficult, because the AI features on the Pixel 9 Pro XL and the S24 Ultra, they're really similar. For example, Gemini Live is going to be available on both these phones, and can we just take a moment while we're here to appreciate how good this is? The conversations you can have live with the Gemini is seriously impressive, and I feel like I've spoken to Gemini Live more than I ever have to Google Assistant. There are a few AI features though that one has that the other doesn't. So on the Galaxy S24 Ultra, you have live call translate, whilst on the Pixel 9 Pro XL, you have call screening. You also have that new Add Me feature on the Pixel, which is pretty cool, and you don't have that on the S24 Ultra. Then you have things like Photo Assist and Magic Editor, which are pretty similar in what they do no matter what phone you pick up, and they both have things like Circle to Search. Essentially, both of these phones have pretty similar AI features, and I wouldn't ever suggest picking up one over the other based on those AI features. Let's talk about the battery, because one of the big factors when it comes down to buying a flagship phone is that battery, and both these phones pack some pretty good batteries. The S24 Ultra has a 5000 mAh battery, as does the Google Pixel 9 Pro XL. The Ultra having 45 watt wired charging, and the XL having slightly less at 37 watts, but that's a decent upgrade on last year's 30 watts. And having used the Pixel 9 Pro XL over the past couple of weeks and the S24 Ultra for the past 6 months or so, I feel like I'm getting decent screen time with both of them, and they're really pretty accurate. So anything from 4.5 hours to 5.5 hours. So I'm happy with that. The extra 20% battery longevity on the Pixel 9 XL has definitely helped this compete with the S24 Ultra, and we've done some initial battery testing against these two, and they basically stack up pretty similar in video calling, web browsing, and 4K video recording. Although if you want to take loads of photos with both of these phones, we've done the testing and you can get up to 6.5 hours of like constant photo taking on the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and on the S24 Ultra it's just under 4 hours. Where the S24 Ultra stands out though by a mile is 4K video playback at almost 24 hours, and the Pixel gets about half of that at just 13 hours. In terms of wireless charging, then you get 15 watts on the S24 Ultra, and the Pixel 9 Pro XL can go up to 23 watts if you're using that second gen Pixel stand, although if you're not using that, then you're going to be capped at just 12 watts of wireless charging. So this brings us to which of these phones is the better option. You could look at the S24 Ultra and think double the storage and an S Pen for $200 more is absolutely worth it. Or you could take a look at Google's new design and things like Gemini Live and think that this overall is just the better device. For me, it comes down to what gives you the best Android experience and what UI you think is going to suit your needs better. The differences this year though are closer than they ever have been, and the problem is that the Pixel 9 Pro XL isn't really as affordable as previous Pro models, and it does start to push the ceiling of Ultra level pricing. What do you think though? Does the S24 Ultra just beat the Google Pixel 9 Pro XL hands down, or do you think Google have done enough this year to compete with the best of Samsung and the S24 Ultra? Let me know in the comments below. Before you head off, make sure you subscribe to the Android Authority YouTube channel, and if you do that, then I will see you later.